Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show for artists, creators, creative entrepreneurs to have heartfelt conversations about living a creative life and a career. As you go into this show, hear your favorite creators talk about money, mindset, business, creativity, and everything else that goes behind into making a life that we all adore as an artist. Hear the messy and the wonderful side of being a creative. I am your host, Charika Arora, an artist, creator, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you for joining me here. Let's jump right in. Today I have a lovely friend from San Francisco, probably the most delicious painter of happiness. When I see her at her work, always it'll bring a smile on your face. And that's why I really wanted to bring her on the podcast, because of course we all deserve a lot more reasons to smile, but also because there's something so much deeper on the surface. What we see, there's so much that goes behind it. We've had her on the Studio Visit series, and she's also going to be a part of the Studio Visit book, which is going to be coming soon. But before we go into all of that, let me welcome my lovely friend Ingrid. Welcome to the podcast, Ingrid.
Thank you for having me, Charika. I'm so excited.
Me too. Thank you. I'm so glad. First, we had you in the season 1 of the Studio Visit series, and I'm so excited to have you in the Studio Visit project book, which I don't know what it's going to be still called, but that's what I'm calling it for now. And now have you on the podcast. Once we have, so it'll be like when we have the podcast book, you'll be both, like in the Studio Visit and the podcast.
Great. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
Okay, well, Charika, thank you so much. Chara, thank you for having me on. I'm so thrilled to be here, and it's just such a very special invitation. You know, I just want to praise all of the work that you're doing with all of these other artists. I think you're up to like over how many episodes now? Like 70 plus?
Like 74 we've published by now today.
Oh,
but we've recorded over 80 already.
I mean, that is like such an amazing feat in such a short period of time. And we were just saying, like, oh, you were just doing this for a year, a little bit over a year. I mean, phenomenal, totally prolific. I'm in awe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I am Ingrid Victoria Wells, and I am a painter and primarily work with oil paint and based out of San Francisco. My studio is in the Dogpatch district of San Francisco, and that is where I went to graduate school, actually, in that same building. I just moved across the hallway. Yeah.
Wow.
I moved across the hallway and it was like, nope, I'm setting up shop. And
I'm never leaving this building.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a historied building. So,
wow, you have a gorgeous studio, by the way. We've done the Studio Visit series, so anyone who's listening, I'm also going to link the Studio Visit of Ingrid in this episode show notes. But she has such a gorgeous, like, I love the sunlight. We had such a fantastic time even in the Studio Visit.
Oh, the Studio Visit was so fun. Thank you so much for that opportunity too. And that was like such a treat. You'll have to come in person whenever you find your way to San Francisco. I'm tracking you over.
I am definitely coming. Yeah. I'll actually have to do like a city hop and like studio hops for like with all of you. And then I think the best idea would be I'll tag along and take along everyone's studio I'm going to visit, and then 2 of us, and then 3 of us, and then 4 of us, and the last point we'll be all together.
Yes, and then we'll have like a big party. That'd be amazing.
Wow, let's do that.
Love it.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. What else do you want to know? I mean, I make oil paintings, and I also do so then that studio, I help run that studio, San Francisco Artist Studios, and
wow.
And they're with a few other artists. I think we have 10 artists in there now, and like really advocating for great studio space for fellow artists. And I love my studio mates so much. They're amazing, super talented and ambitious, and I also run an interview project of my
Yeah.
own called Twirl, a decade of artist interviews, where I follow the career paths of different artists for a decade and see like what unravels. I started the project before the pandemic, and
Wow.
it was very, it's just a mystery what is ahead of us. And I just am curious about how other creative minds take a look at that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. Would you want to talk about why I described your work so delicious for anyone who doesn't know about that?
Oh, well, I use a lot of bright colors. I like to have a lot of fun in my work, and I use a lot of shapes and colors that are kind of well researched in terms of things that make us happy, that induce happiness, and really thinking about that positive mindset aesthetic and why that is so crucial at this time when we are in this sort of worldwide unrest for one reason or another. All of the
Yeah.
social justice issues going on, the pandemic, the world, you know, Putin and everything going on with that terrible situation in Ukraine. My heart really goes out to them, and
Yes, absolutely.
so yeah,
Tell me
just
something. I discovered you. Became friends when we met to the Art Queens, and it's been, I think, over 2 years now. We're also celebrating Art Queen's 2 year anniversary. So of course, it's been 2 years, more than 2 years. Tell me something. I of course know about your Glimmers project and the work that you've been doing since we've met. But before that, since this project was highly inspired by pandemic, were you also making similar work? Was your theme always surrounding something here, like in that vicinity? What kind of thoughts and work were you making before that?
yeah, my previous series to Glimmers I called Spectacle, which is focusing on just like over the top, too much. I just wanted to put all of my favorite things all in one painting. And it's a big guilty pleasure project of mine. I
Oh
think
wow.
actually all of my work is really like that. Like if I could just make work by myself and not have to show it to anyone, this is what I would be making. And I just don't
Oh
like
wow.
I mean, can I swear on this podcast? Like, yeah, I
Yes,
don't,
please.
I don't really give a, I just want to make what I want to make. So that, involves um, just kind of hilarious little moments in reality television or moments in, like I want to do a painting full of just nothing but frosting and, candy hearts or something, just like
I
over
love
the
those.
top. And all of the just like really rich colors. I really like confident mark making, things that are very intentional. I try really hard not to second guess my mark making when I am making um, the physicality of the painting, and just try to do it in a one shot go. And so I like really bright, intentional colors that are, meant to induce specific moods or meant to think about that. And I've always had, a passion to talk about aspects of femininity and aspects of feminine as feminine spectacle, which is hilarious and it just gets into a lot of equality issues, and so it's all very like
That's, I think,
interesting
something
to
that I
me.
really loved. That's
Yeah,
something I really love, especially. I remember that I also said this when we had the studio visit, because on the surface, when I saw your work, it always made me happy, and I thought, it was fun. It was very you. I think that's also something. When someone speaks to you, they will get probably that energy, because you're very energetic. You have this really playful energy, and that's, I think, something that also radiates in your work. But when we actually spoke, you also talked about, all what, like, what do we say? Like, not everything, not, oh God, not everything
right.
that glitters is gold. I don't
Ah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like such a paradox, because how it looks versus your intention and your motive behind and what the story is are two very different perspectives. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and
Oh,
how you
yes.
actually got into that? That's even
Yeah.
more interesting.
Well, I think it's interesting as a woman, you get up, you put on makeup, you put on pantyhose, you put on a bra. Like there's all this like, okay, we're just doing this performance on a daily basis, you know? And I
Yeah.
thought that that was really interesting. People approach you based on a performance. And so that, you know, thinking about that in terms of painting, you can make an approachable painting, which is something that I think about quite a lot. I want to make my work very accessible and very approachable to a wide variety of audiences that are not necessarily from the art world. That's important to me. But then there's also like a surface read of, oh, look at this shiny object thing rendered in front of me, which, you know, and then, you know, if you can read the statement or dig a little bit deeper or read some sort of snarky, sassy title that I just like love throwing on to some of these paintings, you know, then, you know, there's like just little levels there of,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta, it's almost like catching flies with the glow of the of the light kind of thing. So it is very interesting to have something appealing on multiple levels. You know, it's
Yeah.
appealing at a very surface level. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Yeah.
like all of the things that, you know, make us magpies and, you know, have it be very appealing at a superficial level. Great. But then
Yeah.
it's also got to have the 1-2 punch with the conceptual and,
Yeah.
you know, really a moment to present research-based data about what it is these colors and shapes are doing to our brain and why it's good
Okay.
for us and why, like, right now. Why is it crucial to have happy things surrounding us during this
Absolutely.
time of like global, you know,
More than any time, any other
yeah,
time.
global difficulty. So yeah, it's fun.
To tell me something. Um, let's talk a little bit about like from the beginning. Okay.
Okay.
Tell us how you were as a child. How did you grow up? Did you like were you also very playful while you were growing up? Were you also very obsessed with glitter, pinks? A lot of your work is actually honestly a lot of your work reminds it speaks not to me. It actually speaks the little girl in me. Like it speaks to that aesthetically also. Like it reminds me of little joys. Like I always swoon over like and what I also feel it's also very universal. Like I grew up in India, you grew up in the US. Someone may grow up like in New Zealand. I know Val, let's say, grew up somewhere. We've all grown in different parts of the world. But there's also this as a woman, one, but also as children. It's like these tying knots that hit on the same nerve and bring the same emotion in all of us. And it's like a unifying concept for everyone. So I'm just interested in knowing how you were as a child, how these elements have they been something that have been a part of your growing up all throughout?
Oh, that's such a fascinating question, and thank you so much for sharing your perspective on that. You know, from your upbringing as well. You know, I think as a child, I used to collect a lot of little things and have little collections.
Are you sure you
And
used to do that as a child and you're not still doing that?
well, now I'm still doing that. Now I've come back to that.
Yes.
Now that it's like, okay, I'm an adult and I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'm doing that now. So like, I mean, I used to have a rock collection and various like just all kinds of little objects. Now as an
Yeah.
adult, I'm collecting like basically little beads or little objects for me to enlarge on a canvas and paint as still life, you know, kind of in a uh, abstracted way, maybe at times, but it is, you know, definitely tapping into that nature. There
Yeah.
is one painting in particular that's coming to mind. It's called "Shining Despite the Shit," and it's about.
I just saw that. I just
It's a big gold colored painting of
yeah.
stars, and they're very shiny, and it's based on like a little kind of beads from the 90s, and they're like little plasticky beads. And so it kind of touches on that particular moment, but then also that color is supposed to be like one of the safest colors for children to be around psychologically.
Okay.
And I thought that that was just very interesting to use that color in a way that would tap into that. As we grow up, adults kind of shy away from that color a little bit, go into other colors. There are some colors that really speak to particular parts of us. And so that is pretty interesting to incorporate, like talking directly to children, which I don't know is always done. Like when you're making oil on linen paintings, to this certain scale or whatever. I don't know that everybody's painting for kids, but that is in my mind.
You're painting for kids in us also.
Yes, kids, because every adult is really a kid. We're just like in a bigger body, and making that work accessible to children as well. Yeah.
What's your fondest memory growing up? Can you share like something that your fondest memory
growing up? Fondest memory growing up. One thing, like if you were to ask me when I was a child about like, what would you want to be when you grow up? My biggest goal was to be an ice cream tester. I thought I would test out all of the ice creams and then tell them my opinions and feedback on that. And that was my life aspiration. And then when I was in high school, as my first job, I worked in an ice cream shop. And so then I achieved my lifelong dream.
Yes. You moved on to, like, you did like way faster than all of us.
Well, I wasn't really quite a tester, but it was kind of fun to like have that full circle moment. So yeah. I think that's like a childhood thing. I also remember doing a couple of drawings. One drawing that I did was of Amelia Bedelia draws the curtains. And that was like a moment for me when I illustrated that book. They have illustrations in the book anyway, but we had to like do a drawing. And Amelia Bedelia, this is like a play on language, and to draw the curtains can mean to open the curtains or to draw the curtains. Amelia Bedelia would always like just do the other, like the other meaning of the word. So she would draw the curtains, like drawing and painting. And I thought that was fabulous. So then I did a drawing of that, and it was just like a drawing of big windows with red curtains and her doing that. And that was one of my early art memories. And I don't know, it really spoke to this idea of like, even if I didn't have this big, like, windows with the big red curtains or whatever, then like I could just draw it. I can just make it up. I can make anything happen. Like, here's the picture. Like now it's reality. So, like just something.
If you can't make it, you paint it.
That's right. You got to live in your own fantasy land.
Yeah. That's lovely. Okay. Did you always want to become an artist? Did you think this was something? How did it happen actually? I'm sure choosing a creative path, especially as an artist, is not like one of the most conventional paths for most of us, no matter where we're coming from. How was that for you?
Well, I don't really know that I did choose it. It was something that I feel like it's funny when we talk about this pivotal moment for all artists, and it's such a good question. I'm curious to hear yours really too. So maybe you can indulge me and tell me all about your Shara. I went to school for business. I did not do visual art until I was in my 20s. I couldn't even draw a stick figure. And I went to school for business. I had done music before then, and but it was like okay to do music. But then, like when it came to college, it was like, okay, you have to pick a real job, quote unquote, real job, and you had to buckle down. And so even music wasn't really like
Of
totally
course.
encouraged as a serious adult endeavor, from the environment that I was around, even though it was totally supported in many other ways. But so I went to school for economics. That
Oh
was
my goodness.
quite a jarring experience. There would be like big lecture halls of 200, 300 men, and I was one of two women in the room.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was very, of course, we sat next to each other, and like, of course, we're doing other things. And she went on to be an environmentalist, and was super cool. But,
Oh, wow.
it was interesting. So I had a lot of thoughts about that.
Do you want to
I don't know.
like go deeper into those thoughts?
I guess like even the men in the room were not really the men that I was like interested in
Yeah.
immediately being around. And then I thought I was kind of having a little bit of a crisis because I thought, well, if this is really supposed to be the point where I'm like enjoying what it is I want to do and like experiencing learning to the extent of like the whole idea of learning something new. I love that. And I love
Yeah.
learning about all these different things. And I just was not enjoying my learning experience at the time because for me personally, like this is maybe not everybody's thing. And like there's many wonderful people who have studied business. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but just for my own experience,
Absolutely.
it felt like just not what I thought it was going to be. I
Yeah.
felt like I was going to school to learn how to work for somebody else. And that
Yeah.
is not like what I totally
You
wanted
wanted.
to do. I wanted to learn how to run my own business and be an entrepreneur.
That
And
was something you were very clear of since the beginning.
yes, yeah. And so I knew that I wanted to do something creative after actually I was so thankful for whoever this person was, and I can't remember who this was, but they came in and we did like lay on the ground business students, and we're going to do a guided meditation, and you're going to envision your future career. And I
Oh,
saw
wow.
myself um, going, up to a 2-story building, and it was in a place with good weather, and I like had a lot of windows, and I was making collages, which was at the time sort of my hobby, making a ton of collages. So I guess the early start of my art practice. And then I woke up from the guided meditation. I thought, if
What is
I'm
this?
making collages, this is not the right place for me. I think I'm in the wrong spot. So, and then I kind of just marinated on that for a while. And being kind of the practical person I was, I started moving into art education. I just changed my major. You couldn't take art classes as a non-major. So I thought, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to move and to take change my
Art
major.
education.
I'm all in. So then I did art education. Art education is great because then you can test out every different studio practice. You have the flexibility in
Oh,
the program, so that way you can learn printmaking, ceramics, photography, and I did everything and I loved everything. But really, when it came to painting, I was like, oh
this is
no,
it.
it's over. I found my love of my life, and this is it. It's me and painting hand in hand until I'm like a little old lady dying. That's it. It's
Not
done.
stuck by my computer, stuck by my brushes.
Yeah. And it was just amazing. I was attracted to painting because, again, I had, it was something like that I wasn't reliant on other people to do. I could do it in
Yeah.
any space. A lot of other practices, there is more of a challenge because you have to share a kiln or share a press or share, some of these sort of bigger financial resources. And I wanted to select something that I could make art no matter what my financial situation was. That was very important to me. So, and then I double
That.
majored in painting and
Oh,
went
wow.
on to graduate school in San Francisco. I don't know. How much of the story do you have time for? I'm going on too long now.
No, you can go as long as you feel. Okay. Let me ask you another question on this. You've also briefly mentioned, and before we started this call, we were about to touch into something and we held ourselves back. So let's go back into that, which is music. What I'm really interested in knowing is, first, let's talk about the first half of the question, which is moving from a business, which is like, we're all driven. And I really wish that this doesn't happen to maybe people growing up now, the future generations and everyone, that we always were taught to do mm, you know, the safe thing, the practical thing, something, you know, um, that made sense not only to you, but more than you actually to the society. You took a decision of actually, when you went into economics, business, and then you went poles apart, which is like, it's like two different poles. And for people who believe like it's, if this is practical, this is totally unpractical for a lot of people. How was that move for you? Were people around you supportive? How was, what was your experience of even making that shift? Because more than anything, your own personal mindset shift is so important.
Hmm. That was a difficult time for me with other people around me, for sure. Um, and I think that at some level, you have to decide not to give a crap about what other people are telling you about how your life should be, or what you
Yeah,
should be doing, or how you should be performing, yada, yada. You have to really dial into something much, much deeper and say, I have one life. This is my life. This is mine. I know that I have like a particular interest and aptitude in this area over here. And you might have like multiple curiosities
yes,
going on. And I just say, like, pursue it, do what you want. And nobody else has to understand you, nor will they, because they have
yeah,
their own experience. And so at some level, you just got to say, fuck it, I'm doing it. I don't even know how to draw a stick figure, but I can figure it out. It's like Marie
yeah,
Forleo says, it's all figure outable. Like, just
yes,
do it. Like, if you feel called to do something, go. Like it's like so, you know, you have to have a really there is like a little bit of maybe bravery around that when it comes to like
yes,
other relationships who maybe have thought of you in a certain way. I know that
yeah.
people around me at the time thought I was going to be like a badass business bitch, and that's what that was.
You were in economics and your goals at that point may be entirely different. That also included, probably, I think it's only also a lot more about examples that we've seen. I feel like now people are going to grow up, a lot of people want to become, if you ask a lot of people, like young children now, they say they want to become content creators, they want to become YouTubers, or they want to become, like, stuff like that, because they've seen examples of what's possible, and that it's not, it is like, it is a possible career. You can have a financial stability and all of that. It does not, like, you don't have to starve because you want to do something creative, all of that. But probably at a, of course, I knew I didn't have a lot of examples. I'm sure you may not even have similarly. And the idea of starving artists or financial instability, how did you, like, when you were making this move, this transition, especially from have thinking of like a very sustainable and like this stable career or a job could provide versus moving into a, probably, I don't think that's absolutely true now, but probably at that point a lot of people would say, oh, this will never make sense for you financially. How did you deal with that?
I mean, I did have voices around me that were saying things along those
Yes, we
lines.
all do.
And I guess, I just have an internal, like, rebellious spirit of, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no,
I'll
no.
show
I'm
you.
going to do it anyway. And it's going to be super fun. And you just have no idea. You can't envision it. But I can
Yeah,
envision it. And I just, have a deep feeling of, like, you know, this is what I want to do. I know I'm a capable person. I know that I can do this. I don't know what the
yes,
answers are, what the steps are, but I know that I can figure this out. And I think,
yeah,
like, if you have that, sometimes you get it can be a really tough place for a young artist or an artist who, and I don't want to say young, I just want to say somebody who is new to the field. And that can happen at any age. And it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of just like, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway attitude. And that is sort of how I approach anybody who's like a naysayer of like, even like, you know, you get in to, people like the art, people don't like the art, people make positive comments, people, you know, leave 200 negative comments on your Daily Mail article. You're like, okay, thank you for the flattery. Thank you for taking the time. Like, I mean, you just have to be like, and take it as a flattering moment, because these other people that are saying stuff like that it just reveals, honestly, it has nothing to do with you. It reveals their own limitations. They would not be brave enough to do what you're doing, is how that comes across to me when I've been in conversations like that. They would not be brave enough to do what you're doing. They're afraid.
That's very true.
And like, maybe they're communicating their fears to you because they like have some compassion for you. But, you know, you got to get in with the people who are driven and like,
and also open. I think a lot of times what happens, what happens is it's of course courage, but it's also an example of there's so much room that if you have the conviction that you will put your 100%, and that if this is really, you really want to know. I know when I decided, I didn't know how I would be able to make a living. I didn't even know anything about it. 10 years ago, when I thought I wanted to be a creative, I didn't even know what being a creative meant. The only thing I knew that I wanted to make things, and honestly, I didn't have a percent of idea how that would make. I mean, how that would be possible. When I thought art, I didn't know how that, but there was this one voice that was like, you know, if I'm so convinced I can do this, then I'll figure that out as well. And that's also like, I think it's also like what you're doing, you're not only doing for yourself, you are making that benchmark, and probably that dilemma that you have today, and you don't have an example to look out, so you have to look within, and you know, it's like, you know, I'll figure this out, I'll do this, I'll make sure, you know, that happens. But a lot of times, if you make this possible, you're actually giving someone an example that, you know, that's how it's done. You know, if she can do this,
I love that.
I can do that.
Yes, I love it. It is like that. Yes. Jonica, it is like that. If she can do it, that is right. And that is how I feel about a lot of things. I mean, there are so many wonderful artists around, and so many amazing female artists, and who are now, we're all in touch and visible across the world because of these different social media platforms and things like this. And I mean, I remember like when I got my first artist website in undergrad, and other people did not have artist websites, and I was kind of criticized, like, why are you going to put your art on a website?
Wow.
Like, you just need to get a gallery, and then the gallery will be your website. And I was like, no fucking way, I'm just putting my I'm making my own damn website. And you know, it was like, you know, I mean, so that was a thing I remember. But like our mentors got to where they are in a very different way than we will get to where we are, you know, or anybody doing a level up now at this stage is just a really different game. There are different tools, you know, if Rembrandt were alive now, and you know, there was all this social media, like, you just kind of wonder, like, okay, like if Rembrandt had access to, you know, all of the print or all of the painting oil colors, like, you know, I don't know. Like, there's just people operate in different ways during the time frame that they are doing their, you know, up leveling. It's very interesting.
You know, something that you've really also said well and important is, and I think I've also experienced this personally, like for me, I'm a very curious person. Probably something, let me share something very fun. Like, I think my podcast is such a good outcome of that curiousness. like I said, and I told you, and that's something a lot of people ask me, like, when we schedule interviews, and they ask for questions, and I always write them back, like, I don't have questions, and I'm going to just, I know about you, I've got you here because there's something that I really want to speak about and learn from you, and I'm always curious, so I don't think I will ever be short on questions, but I don't want to, I don't want this to be like a format magazine. I just want it to be conversational. And I think what's something that feels as a strength today to me, believe me, a couple of years ago it didn't feel like that. I would always be someone, I was always afraid to ask questions because I didn't want to feel like um, the dumb one, probably because you're always like, as a lot of times people judge you, why, oh, this is such a stupid question, or why would you ask this, or something like that. And what I really realized in this transition of experiencing different kind of people, that what it's not, it's really not the strength or the weakness, it's attributes. Something that I saw as a weakness before was because the people I was with, because they were not of the same maybe wavelength that I was always, I'm very experimental, I love experimenting. I always like if there's something new, I don't want to be safe. I think I enjoy learning and exploring something that's challenging and all of that. And to some that does not make sense, which is fine, which is there. But also when you're not in the right place, that in a way puts you in a box, then lets you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've really said this rightly, because it's very important for us to know that where we are, who we are with. I think I really enjoy, and that's why I think we all enjoy together, and that's how we've all come together, because we all have very similar interests. Like, we're all trying to do something new, even if it doesn't make sense, even if the world cares or does not care, or like, we really go for what we want and want to try. And even if we fail, that's okay. I'm like, when I started this podcast, I didn't even know how to hold a mic or like record or all of that. And I mean, 74, 80 episodes in now. I'm sure there's great progress, like road to progress. But I figured we all figure it out if we have the will.
Oh yeah, rock on. Yeah. I mean, well put. I love it.
Okay, tell me something about now. I really do feel your experience and your interest in music has something to do with your work. Your work is also very melodious. Like, do you want to first, let's also share your journey of music. You came to San Francisco because you wanted to pursue music. And then let's also talk about how painting happened, and how painting and your music is there a connection? If not, if so, yes, then how?
Oh my goodness, this is very interesting. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I originally, my first instrument was clarinet, and
Oh wow.
began playing that in, I think, fourth grade, started playing, and
Oh
then played with other
goodness.
people in sixth grade. And I think that was the timing. Anyway, so I played clarinet the entire, you know, really, yeah, since then. And
Wow.
for a lot of my, middle school, high school time, I thought, oh, maybe this is what I want to do to some level. And that practice, that really just taught me about like pursuing something creative in a practice, and also working with other people, because innately, as part of being part of a band, you're listening constantly to what's going on with others, and you're working collaboratively with others. And I was very interested in that in high school. In college, I played um, clarinet, and I did some guitar and a little singing, and I played with a couple different little sort of like indie folk bands, and
Wow.
played around Phoenix, Arizona, which is where I was living at the time. And we did, with a couple different bands, kind of tours of the West Coast to play at different music venues. This was the first time that I, uh, you know, kind of met and fell in love with San Francisco as a city. And I just thought, oh my goodness, there's so many like weird people here, and I love them, and I identify with them. And it's just like so very I felt like I was home, even though it was something, it was some,
Awesome.
and sometimes you have that with people too. Like you meet them and
Yeah.
you feel very at home and, and just at ease right away in your surroundings. And there, it was just a kind of a deeper knowing there, I think. And so then when it came time to think about graduate school, I just was really hoping that San Francisco would work out. And I did go to graduate school in San Francisco, San Francisco Art Institute, and had quite a ride there. And it was, so then I graduated and have been making art since, really. So, yeah.
Did you ever think about pursuing music as like a profession like you did as with arts? Why didn't, I mean, is there a connection between the two? Does music affect your art today? Do you still
Yeah,
practice
I think
music?
music does affect the way that I think about color combinations. I think there's a relationship like in a musical chord when you think about the different tones that you're using in a chord versus the color combinations that you're using in a painting. And I think that, it evokes different moods if you're moving from major to minor. And I think about that a lot with um, color schemes in my work and my recent work, and thinking about repetition and we have a print up now of one of my paintings called Sympathetic Vibrations, which is actually a print that I'm doing with Boss Gallery. To all of the proceeds go to Voices of Children, which is uh, a program for an nonprofit organization in Ukraine to support the psychological and psychosocial well-being of everyone, the children in Ukraine right now. So, yeah, and that painting, that image, is a painting of blue stars, and it's repeated. Blue stars all over the surface, and stars are the most hopeful shape, and that sort of repetition and that those particular colors, I do think about like that analogous color scheme, in relationship to music. And
Music.
yeah.
Lovely. Tell me something. How do you begin your work? Like, firstly, I think like how do you even come up with these objects? Like, you always make me remind of when I was a little girl, like, those clips, the stars, the smileys, or the rainbows, or the sprinklers. Um, is there like a way that you're collecting these objects and ideas, and then you bring them onto the canvas? How do these ideas originate for you? You have
Yeah,
a
I
process
do
probably.
like a lot of looking around for things that I love, and do like keep a lot of collections basically. And I guess in part why I keep collections of small objects is because I keep a lot of
Yeah.
collections. So I have to have just a lot of small things. Right now, I've even resorted to making uh, paintings that are based on confetti. So it's very,
Yes.
very tiny,
So are
tiny
you collecting like
things.
confetti?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
So
God.
collecting.
Where are you storing all of this? Because I'm coming for you now.
Oh yeah,
I think
you
I
come over. We'll have
will.
a party. Have a good. Yeah.
Oh, of course. I'm going to bring my collectibles now. I also have
Yeah.
like these boxes. I love them. And especially
Yeah.
I
What
think
are
I
your
love collecting.
collections? Yeah.
Like, I think, even right now on my desk, you'll find like, and my mom used to get so paranoid all the time because all of that. Like, like if some packing would come and I would find like little stars, I would keep them. And you know what? Something, even while you're talking about this, as a child, so I used to go to school, and I used to be the first pick up and the last drop. Okay. And even till today, I'm going to be 30 now. Even if you go check any of my pockets, you will always find a candy. I've never said this, but that's true.
Uh,
I have a niece, and both of us, like, even more, probably more than her pockets, you'll find all my dresses, all my pants. You'd either find like, a wrapper or like, so I always had this habit, like, before going to school, my mom would give me something, I would just put it in my pocket, and before getting back on the bus, I would collect some toffees, buy something, and always kept it. And then even now, like I collect, like I would always, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm like, just, I really like it, and I love
Yes.
cute stuff, and like
Yes.
clips, and like even though it's feminine, and I love being feminine, honestly. I don't think that energy with versus what we do, like they're two very different energies, and they come together, and that's what my modern Maharani, what my work is also about, is like how fierce and feminine, like coming both of them together. And that's when I saw your work, that's something that always like comes to my mind, because when I see those candies and those little things, and I feel like it makes me remind of that little girl who's always putting things in a pocket and like collecting those little things.
Yeah, I think I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so generous. Yeah. I think it's important to surround yourself by like what you like to be surrounded by.
Yeah,
And that seems like such a simple thing, but it's actually very
yeah,
hard to do.
that's
And
true.
I think about that with even interior design, and like just you want to be around things that make you happy, and there is like a real power to certainly experiences, but also objects do have such power within them, and little things. And yeah, the Glimmers body of work is all about dialing into those positive experiences or little moments that can put us into a positive mindset. And it's a psychological term. It's sort of like the opposite of triggers. It's relatively new. And so like if you come across something that comes into your point of view that can spin you out in a positive way, like give me
Yeah.
more of that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we all need more of that. Like, yeah, I love when you said, like, I don't know why I am doing this, but I like to collect all of my positive things because they make me feel good on
Have.
your desk. I think that is so right on. That is so important. And like, just, be around all of your favorite things, and then you can kind of uncover, like, okay, why is this shape and why is this texture and why is this color calling to me? What can I do to research this? This is like my own like deep dive into
That's how
why
you
why is
process.
this doing this to me? Why does this thing have this effect on me? And then how can I do that intentionally in my work and help other people also get in a positive mindset? Yeah.
I love that. I really love that. Do you hold jewelry?
Do I hold jewelry? I do have a couple of pieces of jewelry. Yeah, I don't. I'm not like a huge jewelry person, but I do have some. Yeah.
But then where are these, like, what I'm interested to know is, where are your these sources, like in physical format? How are you, like, is it big? Because I think what I, especially, again, this could be personally, like, completely something very personal, because my growing up in India and how I'm connecting to it. But I do see, like, the confetti or like the stars, and like, either I the first thing that comes to my mind is, like, food, because that's how, like, cakes, and how, where do we spot these things? What I'm interested to know is, like, where are you, what is your ground zero, like, if where are you finding these physical objects in the first place? Where do you go? Like, do you go to like a Barbie store? Like, I don't know, I mean,
Oh no,
do
just
you
like the internet, just like order a bunch
oh
of stuff off the internet, and then like some of it works out in terms of what I want for my still life, and some of it doesn't. And when you are making the like I used to be more interested in figurative painting. I still love figurative painting, and so I probably will continue to do that. But you know, it's really nice to paint from still life, and then you can control a lot more about, like, oh, I need to do a reshoot of whatever I'm referencing, or I need to play with the lighting. I need to do a different background. Da da da. I did a whole collection of like vintage. Style dolls, Edward Mobley dolls, and they're like little plastic squeak toys from the 1960s.
yeah, I
Maybe
remember
1910.
that one.
Yeah, and so that, like, then I was like, okay, yeah, why don't I continue to do that? But maybe I should continue to do that in like a smaller way. And thinking about like what are small things that I can paint where I can have a lot of freedom with, making work like that. And the confetti thing was an idea that I actually had for 10 years and really thought, oh my God,
Really?
Ingrid, you're going to be like off the deep end if you start painting confetti. Just like that whole idea. I
Oh
couldn't get
my
around
God,
that.
yes.
Like just like the mechanics of making that type of painting. So now I've kind of blown it up and figured out how I really want to pursue that. But it feels more like the moment to maybe the work would be understood a little bit better now. But um, I held on to that idea for a long time before jumping in and doing it, which is not normally. I just try to avoid hanging on to it for too long and not acting. But yeah.
Okay, my last question before we get into the rapid fire, which is I think one of the most important questions I want to ask, and also because there's a lot of stigma and very less conversation about it. There's this conversation, and especially like a lot of painters, especially thankfully I didn't come from an art school, and honestly I think that's how, I mean, I'm happy for that, because I came from a design school, and I think it set me into a box that felt way harder to break than some. When there's no box, there's no set of rules. You I don't care what I'm breaking, I'm always making new rules. So I think the approach changes. But I
Yeah.
know a lot of people, especially on the podcast, they've said like, how their school teachers or the art schools have always taught them like, oh, they have to be painting something serious, and something needs to look serious, and to be like successful, or to be a serious painter, or like, all of those things. Versus your, did you feel a challenge in that, especially within yourself, like as mindset or people around you, and how did you deal with that?
I guess as somebody who teaches art too, I do have a lot of empathy for any professor who is doing that as a career. There is like so much, pressure in a conversation when you're a professor and you're giving feedback to a student. That conversation, the power dynamic is weighted so heavily, and so it's
Yeah.
really, you know. I have a lot of empathy for anyone who is teaching art. I think that is like quite a thing to dedicate your life to do. Um, I think that I definitely had professors who would go down the rabbit hole and just be ridiculously giddy about whatever I was painting at the time, which included some pretty ridiculous, things like Honey Boo Boo flying on a, flying unicorn pig, pet pig or something. I don't know what I was up to at the time. But, some people would go down that rabbit hole with me and be like, all right, like, let's play the game. Let's see what that is. There's a bigger general narrative, though, that was happening within the art world. That was something, maybe I noticed that a little bit in school, but then also just in larger context, in museum spaces and some other spaces where artwork is shown. And David Batchelor kind of gets into this in Chromophobia, and I think there was just that Art OK Cool episode where they did the whole recap of that, which is a fabulous podcast as well. But
Yes, absolutely. Shout out to Celine. And
yeah, and that was cool. But there is like a narrative of suffering. There's a narrative of suffering in several different ways with being an artist. Narrative like, oh, you're going to live in a shack and you're never going to have any money, and it's going to be really difficult that way. And then there's also a narrative of suffering in the work itself, where you aren't, and this is not all work, but this is definitely something that was happening, maybe more so when I was younger. And the work is black and white. The work is very serious. There's a lot of drama. And they talk about psychology in this way that's very, very serious and very harsh. And I just, totally reject that. I'm all about like, okay, well, take me seriously as I paint these paintings of like 50 stars and like, try me then, because you are around your work the most and you want to, be around something that puts you in a positive place. And it's crucial actually to do that. It's crucial to make work that is joyful at this time. And you think about what Ingrid Vitelli says, who does the aesthetics of joy. She's super cool designer and writer. And she talks about joy as a form of resistance. And I love that. That really resonates with me. So yeah, I just think like, there are certain narratives going on within an art world context, and some of them may or may not be for you. And that doesn't mean that you can't be wildly successful and create your own path and your own community and your own success, outside of what is already presented to you. If you don't find something that is what you're in need of in your education or in your like social group, then go make it. Go do it. Like, okay, that's where it is. That's where the world is before you came along. So like, go make it, man. So that's my attitude on a lot of stuff.
Oh, wow. Lovely. Thank you so much, Ingrid. This was so much fun. But I have one last bit with you, which is the rapid fire. So are you ready?
I am ready. Yes, I am ready.
So give me one word that comes to your mind. There's no right, no wrong. Okay? And you have to be super quick.
Oh my gosh. It's like a pop
Here we
quiz.
go. Yes, it is. But fairly simple one.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Here we go. One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
Oh, I'm supposed to be fast. Oh, okay.
Yeah, quick.
Okay. This is hard. This is one
Give
thing.
me anything.
Okay. I guess like hope, resilience.
Love
Screw you, I'm doing it anyway attitude.
I love that.
Sorry,
Huh?
that's not one word. Okay. Yeah.
I get that. Okay. What's that one word that describes you the best? Quick!
Oh, fun.
If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, my studio, right where it is.
San Francisco.
Yeah, just exactly how it is. I'm thrilled with it.
The same building.
Same
you
building,
have your dream
same
studio.
thing. I had my dream studio. It's done. It's over. Yep.
Lovely. I'm coming for you. Your biggest source of inspiration? Quick!
Oh, I get it. Oh my goodness. Oh, color. Yeah.
Who's your favorite woman artist from any point of time?
Oh no, this is going to be so hard. Who's my favorite woman artist?
Quick.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to the Alice Neal. I think Alice Neal is coming to San Francisco, so I just saw her poster when I was driving. So I know that painting. That's not my peripheral vision. I'm going to that. But I also like. Okay, all right. I like a bunch of people.
Okay. Who's your go-to person when you're in trouble or in need of advice? Quick!
I don't.
Quick.
My art community. It's hard to like pick one person. I have several people. Yeah.
You can name a few. That's okay.
Yeah, probably my partner. Yeah,
okay.
in some ways, and some other ways, my other best friend, Emily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to Emily and your partner then.
Yeah. I don't know. This is like difficult. Yeah.
Okay, this is more than one word. I'm sure there must have been many, but can you share one moment that's one of your favorite moments as an artist, something that made you feel very grateful, ecstatic, gratitude, or like, just something that you really savor?
Oh, I've had a lot of these. I feel extremely grateful for so many opportunities that I've been able to participate in, and surrounded by so many awesome community-driven artists. One thing that was really cool, I did this little painting, oil on panel painting. I think it's like 10 inches, 12 inches square. And it was this little painting that I did for a daily studio project. Is this like a one-word thing still? Or
No. You can just share one of your incidents.
Okay. And I just thought like, oh, this is a daily painting. I'm going to do a little daily practice. It was like a zoomed-in mouth of one of the characters from Absolutely Fabulous, and she's like screaming, and I just was thinking like, yes, go for it, female power. And like, she's got this big gaudy red lipstick, and it's just like my sort of, loud female aesthetic, and I loved it. And it was just like this little painting. The painting ended up going to New York for an exhibition, and then ended up representing part of this movement, sort of like the Me Too movement, but in Spain, and was on a full page print of this in this newspaper called El País, which is like the New York Times of Spain, and it was representing the Me Too movement there. And so just like this little painting that I made very quickly, kind of as like a one day little thing, went on to have this other life. And I think about that with the life of the work and where this little painting might go, and what you make it and then it goes off and has its own life. And it just was so important to have that movement represented well. And I just was so honored that they were even, that they found the work and reached out to me, were interested in that. And it was cool.
Lovely. That's so beautiful. Love that. Okay. If you were to meet younger Ingrid today, what advice would you give her?
Oh, I would just hold her hand and say, don't worry. It's going to be better than you ever pictured. It's going to be so much fun.
Lovely.
It's going to be so much fun. Yeah.
Shout out to an artist who's currently on your heart list / you're loving, especially on social media.
I love Lisa Golightly's paintings. I think that's her Instagram handle. She does like beautiful.
That's Lisa
Golightly.
Okay, I'm going to take the handle from you and add her in the show notes.
Okay.
Last question. As a woman entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur, what's that one advice you'd like to share with anyone who's listening to this episode?
I think you have to really recognize the power of the people that are around you and how much power that those people have in your life. And that can be positive and that can be not positive, depending on who you're surrounding yourself with. And just some thoughts from like Gary Vee. He always says like, put good voices in your ears, put positivity in your ears. Literally listen to podcasts like this one, or other like wonderful like uplifting moments from other people and their stories of like where you want to go and how they got there, and like that it's possible, basically, that your wildest dreams are possible and even better. And that it also you're in it for the long game. If you launch something and it doesn't immediately work out within 30 days or something, like, you're not in it for 30 days. You're not trying out to be an artist for 30 days. You're trying about to be an artist is like, oh, this feels good. This will help me with my, emotional regulation and positive thinking and like meditative practice for the rest of my life. And so when you have those moments of rejection, like, just shoot for more rejections, shoot for like 100 rejections per year is always like the thing going around now, and that's something that I definitely did. Try to get your long list of rejections. I think Gary Vee also says like it's really about the effort, that should be rewarded. We're all growing up in this point of time where, our people who were raising us were like, you have to be results oriented, and it's all about the result. And I just, I don't see it that way.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ingrid. I can't even, like, it's been an hour and the time flew by. I'm just so grateful for your time and for our conversation. My last bit is, do you have anything that you want to share with us? Any upcoming project? Also, everyone who's listening to this episode, where can they find you, see your work, support your work, and please just share anything and everything that you would like to.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I can't believe it's been an hour already. I just go talking on and on. Like, we could talk for hours and hours.
We love that.
It's fun. My Instagram is Ingrid V. Wells, INGRID as in Victoria, Wells, WELLS. And then it's www.ingridvwells.com as my website. April 9th, I'm having an opening in San Francisco with Luna Rand Gallery, and that I'll have 4 paintings there. I have prints to support the Ukrainian efforts with Voices of Children. I think I mentioned that earlier. Available right now at Fondest Gallery, along with other work as well. In April, I'm going to be doing a very fun project called Music for Your Inbox, which is a collaboration with musicians based out of LA and my artwork. So that will be super fun. And in June, I'm doing a exhibition, which is going to be super fun in a clock tower in San Francisco through Voss Gallery. And I'm going to be also doing small painting release as part of the Artist Support Pledge. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that for a while now. That was quite a thing in the pandemic.
It was.
Like, wow.
And I'm like Johnny comes lately, but I'm doing it anyway. So it's just fun. I want to figure out, like, how can I support my artists with my work too? So that is super cool. Small work. Anybody that uses, it's like under a $200 price point. And then I think after a couple of works are sold, then the artist who's selling the work goes back and supports other artists by financially purchasing their work. And so it's just a cool, generous spirit project that I thought would be really fun.
That means a lot's coming up. So nice to hear that. And I can't wait to see you all the amazing, fun, joy, lovely, beautiful things that you're doing, and always sharing so much love with all of us. Thank you so much again. I want to say a big thank you for your time, for your honesty, for your thoughts and your experiences. I'm so glad to have you here. And I am so thrilled because anyone who's listening, Ingrid will also be a part of the studio book that I'm writing and working on right now, which is coming from a studio visit project that I did in the pandemic. We will be reopening and doing the season 2 of the studio visit series soon. But till that, hold on to this episode. And in that meanwhile, you can also go in the show notes of this episode and do like a studio visit with Ingrid and me after this episode. And then we'll see you back in the book. And everyone who's joined us, thank you so much for your time. If you like this episode or this podcast, a review would really help us and keep the show going. So please make sure that whenever you're listening this, leave a small review. Just it feels very, very, I feel very grateful to hear from all of you. And I'm sure that it'll help us reach way more people like all of you and Ingrid. So yeah. Thank you so much, Ingrid. You have any last farewell words?
I mean, just thank you again so much for having me on. It's so fabulous. I love being in touch with you, and it's just so great to hear about
Absolutely.
everything in your studio too. And have you had like an interview, like a self interview, or somebody else interview for the
No,
podcast? I mean, that seems like
no.
it would be good.
Yes, that would be good. That's such a nice idea, actually. I have to put one of you on that job now.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's
Cool.
open that with
Okay.
season 2.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll take the hot seat.
Okay. Cool. I'll do it. Whatever you want.
Perfect. Let's do that. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.arts2heartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love, and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.